I think the pound chart is weak. If you look at it, you'll see it is declining. Yeah, I'm exactly looking at the pound chart. Yeah, we've had a decline here. Yes, it does have an influence on any currency pair that has pound in it. It's exactly the same in your pound JPY chart. This is our pound JPY. If this area is open, it's going to decline up until here easily. But the resistance is powerful. There is a possibility of engulfment. In here. Because these are our final targets in the pound chart. When it reaches this area, it's going to send the price up. And if you have paid attention, the weekly candlestick has declined too much. It had to reach this point on Friday, but it has reached it now. So this is the final area of the pound chart. And if you want to buy in your long-term tradings, you have to buy there. That is the main spot. But in here, we have a final pivot here. So that is the final target. I'm waiting for this myself. If it reaches here, we're going to start buying because this is our weekly and monthly pivots, the 61 level of Fibonacci. The pivot is very powerful here. And also, when a candlestick is completed, this is a descending signal. This continuation candlestick. So it's going to decline. Excuse me. The trend it broke the trend line that you had sent on the group yesterday. Is that correct? Yes, it did. This is the trend line. You have one here. It's below the first arrow there, right? Yeah, the next trend line is here, which is not broken yet. No, the trend line that you had drawn was in another area, and the price touched it completely. And it was very interesting too. It had broken all of the lines, and when it broke it, it declined, and I thought that it was kind of a fundamental situation. Let me find the line. It was on another system. I have to find it. So you have one trend line here. Excuse me, the trend line that you had drawn was correct. From the beginning was correct, but you had accidentally connected it to a wrong swing high. No, you see, the beginning was correct, but you had connected it to your lower swing high there. You mean here? No, you have to go further back. I should put this, you mean? Yes, this one. If you, yes, this is the correct way. And you have to connect it to that swing high there. In here, yes. Yes, this is one of your trend lines, which is broken. And you have another one here. Right here. 1, 2, 3 collisions. So it's going to reach the 61 level. It could be a rejection too, because the candlestick is not completed outside of it. It could be a rejection. You see, the pound is going to decline up until here because this is our 61 level, and it's completely obvious that it has gone further than this pivot, so it's going to decline up until here, and then it's going to reach this pivot. So this is a rejection candlestick for us. But the candlestick from last night, let me adjust this first.
دقیقا میشه شادو یه دونه کندل قبلی استاد دقیقا تاچ شده بود
The previous candlestick's shadow was touched and we were going to have a retracement, and I think the V shape, the second leg of the V shape was starting to form. Yes, but then it declined suddenly. It started to decline, and I thought it was maybe because of the news. I'm not sure if we have a news today or tomorrow, and it's also about the disputes between Iran and America. That could be impressive as well. Yes, we've had this decline in all of our charts. No, it's because the dollar has gone up. If you look at the other charts, you see that we've had an uptrend. The dollar is stronger and more expensive now, and I'm not sure if we have a news today or tomorrow. It's because of the disputes between Iran and America. That could be the reason why the dollar is going up. I think the Congress is having a conference with the CIA. Yeah, I think it was last year when we had news about America. So every political news that we had made the dollar go up. So that could be a reason as well. So this is an important point here. You have to pay attention to this area. We have another line. I found it when I was looking at the chart. I think it was this one. You see, this is reliable enough. We've had three collisions here, so this is powerful too. Let me delete this. So you have to pay attention to this here. It's our 61 level of Fibonacci, and as you can see, the candlesticks, we have confirmations from them too, and based on the pivot tool, and you also have a swing low pivot here, and you have an open close pivot in here. So the price is going to be shocked here, and it's going to cause a retracement. I'm afraid it's going to be like the pound JPY. It's going to get shocked and then nothing happens. No, don't worry. You see, you can do scalp tradings here. That's what I will do with heavy lot sizes. But in the last hours, it is giving us a descending signal. I have to change the time frames because last night it gave us an ascending signal, but then it declined. So I have to change the times so that I can get better signals during the day. So, for example, if we were on the 4-hour time frame here, I could have got the signals easily from this. This is for the night before last night, but as you can see, it was obvious that it was going to decline. I'm going to change the time of the class because the time that I have told you is about 3:30 a.m. and in my time it would be about 5:30 a.m. So that is not a good time. We're going to change the time of the class so that we get better signals. Okay, so some of you had asked me questions and you've had problems with factorization, psychological points, and some other subjects. First, we're going to talk about the factorization based on your time frames. You see, we're at the end of the week right now. It's it's 16th, and so half of the month has gone. We can't use check the monthly time frame. Also, we can't use the weekly time frame. So we're at the end of the weekly chart. So I can only check my daily and hourly time frame. So based on the 4-hour time frame, we have a descending signal here. And then, excuse me, in our daily. And in our 4-hour time frame, it is confirmed. The descending signal is confirmed. Please give me a moment. You see, in our daily time frame, the signal is descending. To see if I want to trade right now what the signal is, in our 4-hour time frame we have a descending signal. But this is from last night. But I want to get the confirmation now. So I look at the 4-hour time frame, and I can see that the candlesticks that are completed here are also descending. So that is a confirmation for me. It confirms the daily signal. So both of these time frames are giving me the same signal. That is a confirmation for me. So it's going to decline. If I want to check the shorter time frames, you see in our hourly time frame, this is exactly the time frame, the candlestick that I showed you before, and I told you that this is a descending signal for us. So it's going to cause a downtrend easily because it's confirmed that this is going to cause a downward movement. The shadow is long. The way it looks like it's giving me confirmation that we're going to have a decline. And also based on the 4-hour time frame, it is giving us a decline signal. So I'm getting all of the factors and confirmations in all of my time frames to see if they confirm the downtrend. For example, in here in our hourly time frame, if we had an ascending signal and in our 4-hour time frame we had a descending signal, they would have been paradoxing each other. And usually when we have this paradox, it's going to cause a sideways trend, like this candlestick. It's going to go up and then retrace. We're going to have fluctuations in this area, but when both of them are giving us the same signal in our 4-hour and hourly time frame, it means that we're going to have a decline. And you can see the decline clearly. And in our daily time frame, we are at the end of the daily candlestick. So I have to get the signal from the beginning of the candlestick. It had given us a descending signal. So in here, we have to wait to get a confirmation based on the 4-hour time frame candlestick. When this candlestick is completed, after that it's going to give us another candlestick. So that will be a confirmation for us for the daily time frame that it's going to have a decline. So you have to get the factors from both of them at the same time. For example, in this chart, in our euro dollar chart, in our daily time frame we have a reversal candlestick, which is reliable. It's still reliable until the shadow is open. The lower shadow is longer, the body is short, and it's going to engulf 1/3 to 2/3 of the previous one. So I'm getting the factors from them. Let's move on to the 4-hour time frame. And here, in the past, we've had a descending signal, and it had warned us that in our 4 hour time frame we're going to have a decline. So that is equivalent to the shadow of my swing high. So I can start buying in this area with low risk and low stop loss in this area. So in here, in our daily time frame, we have an ascending signal, and in our 4 hour time frame, in this area, I don't have any ascending signals that is reliable. This is from the past. This is a 4 hour time frame from the past, and I have around 2 hours left until this candlestick is completed. So this is 4 hours after the daily candlestick was completed. So I don't have a confirmation here. We're going to have a possible sideways trend of fluctuations in this area. It's going to go in this direction and then retrace. But you have to pay attention. It has come too close to this. We've had examples of the candlesticks that are swing high candlesticks, and the next candlestick engulfs them completely, and a shadow is formed next to them. So it is giving us, I mean, it is making the ascending signal more reliable. But you see, for example, we have two swing highs that are next to each other. This is an upward reversal, and the next one has formed a shadow, then it has declined. You see, they have been completed like this, and the next one has declined because it was completed inside the pivot. And there are other examples that are exactly the same. For example, this. You see, you've had a swing high candlestick, the next one has engulfed it, it has formed a shadow, and has gone up. So don't you have to expect these. When you have a swing high candlestick, the one next to it is going to engulf 1/3 to 2/3 of it. It's going to reach the shadow and then go up. We've had a lot of examples like this in the market. Hi. Hi. Thank you. Okay, so in here, this candlestick which was completed, you see the next candlestick is equivalent to it, but it wasn't completed in shadow. It was completed as an ascending one, and the next one has declined. So it is still reliable up until it's opened and broken. Or for example, in here, this candlestick is a swing high candlestick, and the next candlesticks have declined. They weren't able to go further than this, so they have gone up again. So you have to expect these to happen. For example, this candlestick here, until the shadow is broken, it's reliable. So if it goes up and it forms a shadow there, you have to be happy because it makes this one more powerful, and the next one is going to go up severely. So the thing that we usually do in this area in our daily time frame, we're going to expect this. We can put a buy order here and put the stop loss exactly below it. The reason why we do this is because it's very different if I start buying here and put my stop loss here. But this is risky. It means that there's a possibility that it's going to be faded out and unreliable, but there's a possibility that it's going to go up because we've had examples. So if it works, we're going to get a lot of profits from that. But if it's open from the top, that is a confirmation for us. We're not even going to close the buy order. And also in here, pay attention to this too. This is our single pivot here, and also my candlestick pivots that follow the trend line as well. But you have the examples like this, that it forms a shadow and then goes up. The technically of the markets are not very good this week because there are some disputes and political disputes. So that is what has caused this. But you have to comply with your rules. Up until this here is broken, for example, you could have bought here. When it declines, you're going to get stressed out, but you have to put your stop loss here because it has to open this area first and then go up. I'm getting the factors right now in the confirmations. In our daily time frame, we have an ascending signal. In our 4-hour time frame, this is a descending signal and it has declined too. So in here, I have to pay attention that we're going to have an engulfment here of the shadow of the daily candlestick because it has given us a descending signal, and in this area the price is going to retrace, which is equivalent to the shadow, and then it's going to go up. My internet connection is good here. You see, for example, in here in our daily candlestick, it has gone further than the high of this. And I told you that when this happens, we're going to have an uptrend. So this is a confirmation for me that in our daily time frame, we're going to have an uptrend. Let's move on to the 4-hour time frame. We've had another ascending signal. So it is a confirmation for me that it's going to go up because in our it confirmed the daily signal, and in our 4-hour time frame, we also have an ascending signal. And this one is the same. In our daily time frame, we have a descending signal, and in our 4-hour time frame, we also have a descending signal. So a decline is expected. In our hourly time frame, this candlestick is giving us a descending signal, and in our 30-minute time frame, this is also giving us a descending signal. So if it comes up a little bit, you shouldn't worry because these upward movements happen when your price touches the minor pivots, so you shouldn't be worried about them. But you have to pay attention where you are when you're trading, where you are on the market. You see, for example, in our weekly time frame, the price is close to the pivot. So I told you that the signal is going to give us a decline, and it happened. So you shouldn't start selling because of these few pips. It's too risky to start selling here because there is a high possibility that it's going to go up, and if it does, you can't do anything because this is our weekly pivot. So you shouldn't take the risk here, and you have to do buy trades with decreased volume because the weekly candlestick is giving me that it's going to touch the pivot. And it's true that in our daily time frame we had a descending signal and it's close to the pivot. It has declined as it should. In our 4-hour time frame we also have a descending signal and it has declined. So these are all complying and these are all matching together. So I shouldn't start. But if it reaches here, you shouldn't take these risks. You shouldn't start selling. Yes, maybe a news is published and it shocks the price and it goes down a little bit and then retraces, but I wouldn't take the risk. I see a lot of people taking these risks and start selling. But you may lose money because it may go up suddenly. It may retrace suddenly, but in your midterm tradings, it would be too risky. So that was the factorization. And based on the tools, if you get all of the factors in your time frames, and your now we move on to our analysis, and you can use the trend lines. This is our partial trend line here. You can also use the Fibonacci tool that's giving you a descending signal as well, so you have to get all of the factors and confirmations. Our pivots and candlesticks are also giving you a descending signal. So these are all of the factors that I have. So from 2 or 3 hours ago, all of the methods and time frames are giving me a descending signal. But you shouldn't start selling here. It would be too risky when it reaches this area. You see, for example, in our Euro chart, the shadow is opens. So when this happens, you have to pay attention to this area. The pivot is right there. So this is, you can say that it's unreliable now. They're equivalent, so don't be afraid, but it's unreliable. Because if this pivot was powerful, the price would have retraced before it even reached it. But the price has touched the pivot. When it touches it, it means that the pivot is not powerful. And the next pivot will be lower than that. So if you're going to have a decline up until this area. But because of this few pips that are here, because this pivot is powerful, so there is a possibility of rejection here, or it could reach this area and then retrace. So because of this pips, you shouldn't start selling. These are the risks that you shouldn't take. You see, for example, in our 4-hour time frame, it has given us a descending signal, but in our daily time frame, it is giving us an ascending signal. So the price has started its movement and it has gone further than the shadow of this candlestick, but the price is still on the pivot. So you have to expect a rejection here. There's a possibility that it's going to cause an upward movement. So if I adjust my trend line, it would be this. Let me delete this. So the price is still on the pivot, but the pivot is weak. If it was powerful, there was a possibility that it was going to cause an upward movement, but the price has touched the pivot. When that happens, you have to be careful about this area. So you have examples like this. When a candlestick is completed with a long shadow, it's a swing high candlestick and it's reliable, and the next one is going to engulf 1/3 to 2/3 of it, or it's going to engulf it completely and then go up. And I showed you some examples on the market, like let me find the examples. I'm going to find examples. Like this one. I want to show you an example that it has gone a little bit further than the shadow of the previous one and then it has declined, but I can't find any examples in this chart. Like in here. You see, you have a doji candlestick here, and the next candlestick has gone a little bit further than that, and it has declined suddenly. So it was a reversal. The price should have started declining from there, but it has gone further than the shadow, and it has gone up, and after that it has declined. So it has caused a rejection. So be careful about the euro chart. This is exactly going to happen in your euro chart. So it's going to decline and then it's going to go up. But you have to check your shorter time frames to be even more sure about this. You see, for example, when the price reaches here, you've had one here, you have had a pivot here, and I told you it's weak. That is why the price was able to touch it. In the past, you've had one here in a longer time frame. But my chart doesn't show the past of the euro dollar currency pair. So for example, in here, this is a shock. If you move on to a shorter time frame, you see that the fluctuations are more visible. So again, above this price, so you have pivots, right? So whenever the price goes further than these pivots, you can start the order up until the next one, or if it reaches here, you can start selling up until the next decline. But that is for scalp trading. For your midterm tradings, it would be too risky to sell here because the trend line is broken. It is giving you a rejection. The pivot is broken, and if you check the daily time frame, you see that there's a possibility that it's going to form a shadow next to this shadow and then go up. So you have to pay attention to this. And I told you that if you had checked the previous candlestick from the 4-hour time frame, you would have known that you were going to have a decline. And I told you that bigger the candlestick, the more severe the fluctuations. And if I draw the trend line here, you can also see that. I have one trend line here, I have a partial trend line here, and you can see the rejection there. And if I want to draw another one, I can draw this one. The signal was below this here, and you have a Fibonacci here as well, and a more overall Fibonacci here. This is our 61 level. You have to keep on using these techniques. You have 6 strategies and techniques. You have to use all of them. Don't just use them in your head. You're not professional enough to review all of the strategies in your mind. So your mind is not fast enough in analyzing to do that. Excuse me, can you please review those 6 strategies again? I think we have a 7 or 8 strategies. Can you please repeat them? The main ones are 6, but you have factorization added to it that makes it 7, but the main one are 6. You see, I'm going to I can't hear you. You're glitching. No, please just name them so we can write them down. Okay, I will repeat them for you. I'm going to explain them on the chart. One of them is trend line. I'm going to tell you this in order. understanding the market elasticity in different time frames, for example, in weekly, monthly, daily time frames, you can get the market elasticity. The next one is trend lines. Excuse me. The market elasticity is the same as a trend line. The next one is Fibonacci. The third one is candlesticks. Fourth one is pivots. Fifth is your swing lows to see if you have a downtrend or a downward elasticity. You can understand if the swing lows have been moved and completed below each other or not. So that is your fifth strategy, checking the swing lows to see where they have been completed. And the sixth one is trend line technique. And the seventh is factorization from all of your techniques. It means that is a trend line or Fibonacci candlesticks or pivots are matched together or not. Or they are giving you the same signal or not. For example, I'm going to show you an example. Let's start from the top. You see that it worked out very well. So this is our hourly time frame, which is being performed. I'm going to start from the daily time frame. Let's delete these first. The first one is getting the market elasticity from your trend lines, based on the trend lines. So, based on the trend lines, the elasticity is downward. You see, let's move on to another time frame. I'm just using the trend line strategy. This elasticity is downward as well. So let's move on to the hourly time frame. The market elasticity is downward. So based on the trend lines, we have a descending signal. Let's move on to the Fibonacci method. I'm going to draw the Fibonacci. I'm going to draw an overall Fibonacci. The market elasticity is downward. The price is trying to reach the 61 level. And it's below my 50 level. So it shows us that the elasticity is downward. And I told you that if the 61 breaks, you can move your swing high and it will still work out. But this hasn't happened yet. So in our daily time frame, the elasticity is downward based on the Fibonacci. Let's move on to the 4-hour time frame. I'm going to draw the Fibonacci here. No, we can't draw this here. In our 4-hour time frame, I can't draw the Fibonacci, but we can draw it here, although we have a swing high there. Let's see if it's accurate or not. I advise you not to draw the Fibonacci here. It's only going to make you confused. You see, inside the wave, we have a zigzag pattern. If you draw the Fibonacci there, like that, the next level is where our third pivot is. But you shouldn't draw it. It's only going to make you confused. Just draw the normal Fibonacci. But based on the Fibonacci, you have a descending signal as well. The next one was a candlestick strategy. Let's move on to the daily time frame. It's still giving us a descending signal. In our 4-hour time frame, still a descending signal. The hourly time frame is still a descending signal. It's the end of the market right now. And also, the candlesticks are giving us another descending signal. Based on the pivots, in our daily time frame, the pivots were here. The reason why you shouldn't trade here is because we're at the end of the day. This is where the price is going to retrace, because it's the end of the day. If we were at the beginning of the day, you could have started trading easily, but because we're at the end of the day, you're not allowed to trade here. The price is below my pivots. In our 4-hour time frame, the price is below the main pivots. I'm talking about the 4-hour candlestick from now. The pivot is broken, so it's giving us a descending signal. The pivot is broken here, and I told you that this is a continuation candlestick. It has a long body with an upper shadow. It's completed inside the previous candlestick, so this is a descending signal. And it's the same in our hourly time frame. From the past, we had a descending signal and another descending signal, a candlestick with a long shadow and a small body, and it's completed inside the previous candlestick, so it's going to cause a decline, a descending signal again. The next one, I'm going to determine the pivots to see how long it's going to continue. In our daily time frame, this is an open close pivot here, which is exactly in this area. It has shocked the price. The next pivot is below the shadow of this candlestick. So if it's going to decline, I'm going to answer your questions after this. So in this area, the maximum decline will be equivalent to the shadow of this. So the maximum area it's going to reach in my daily time frame is here. In our 4-hour time frame, I have to zoom in to see the chart better. The pivot is broken in our 4-hour time frame. The candlesticks gave us a descending signal, so we have one pivot here. Activate the fractals so you can see them. The next one is here, where this one has been broken. So this is my first take profit, and my second one would be this. So if the first take profit is broken, the next take profit will be here. So if you start buying here, you have to exit at this point. And after that, when the pivot is broken again, you can start a new order. So the swing highs, right? Up until here, all of the strategies gave us a descending signal. About the swing lows, I'm going to delete these if that's okay with you. So in our daily time frame, the central swing low is below the previous one. This one is also below the previous one. So it is telling us that the elasticity is downward. We've had a swing high here because they are next to each other. The fractal was not able to be formed. If you consider this a neck, the price has opened the neck here. Let's move on to the shorter time frame, in our 4-hour time frame. The swing lows are completed below each other, lower than each other. All of them perform that rule. So this is touching the pivot, but the elasticity is still downward. You have to wait to see if a swing low is moved or not. So you have to wait here. But still, you have a downward elasticity. Let's move on to the hourly time frame. The swing lows are lower than each other, as you can see. A swing high has to be formed here to see what happens. So we also have to wait in our hourly time frame. So this was also descending. Let's move on to the trend line technique. I'm going to draw it from here. The elasticity is downward. In our hourly time frame, the elasticity is downward. Let me adjust it. The elasticity is downward, so in here we have to wait to see if we should exit or not. It's the end of the market right now, so you have to expect a retracement here. So I think we talked about all of them. So we're at the end of the market now. So if you're online on the market in the morning, for example on 9 or 10 a.m., if you do this factorization, you'll get all of these signals and confirmations that you're going to have a downtrend. But imagine we were 6 hours ago. This candlestick is giving us a descending signal, but below that we have a pivot. So you have to stop trading here. You shouldn't do anything. Out of your 6 strategies, five of them are giving you a descending signal, but one of them is telling you you are inside the pivot. It's not telling you a retracement signal. But for example, we're right now online on the market. So what is going to happen? All of the strategies are telling us that we're going to have a decline. And they have declined. So I have to stop trading here to see how my candlestick is completed. Let's move on to a shorter time frame, for example, the 30-minute time frame. So the price has reached my take profit. The candlestick was completed as a reversal candlestick. You see, it is causing an upward movement here. So this is an ascending signal, a reversal candlestick, and after that an upward movement. So it's going to go up. Let's locate the pivots. We have one here, exactly here, an open close pivot right there, which is when the price goes further than this, you have to start buying again up until the next pivot. Let me locate it, which will be here. Let's see if we've had pivots in the past or not. Yes, we've had pivots. So it's going to go up until here. You have a swing low pivot there as well. So based on the 30-minute time frame, you see it has reached a pivot. So you can start buying freely. You have to start buying and wait. This is your first pivot. If you determine this as your first pivot, when the price reaches here, you have to exit. And then you have to wait. And you have to exit sooner than it reaches the point. So when it goes further than this, you have to start buying again. The next pivot is right there. So you can gain the profits in this distance. Let's move on to a shorter time frame. This is our 30-minute time frame. We're at the beginning of our 30-minute candlestick. And pay attention to one thing. When you're online on the market, please always check the market watch to see how long you have left so that your candlestick is completed. You see, for example, when I tell you that we are at the end of the day, it's the same in your 30-minute time frame. We're at the beginning of our 30-minute candlestick, so that is where we should enter. It shouldn't be at the end of the 30-minute candlestick. If it's at the end of it, it has worked out and it has performed and it's done now. So these factors are just 6 strategies. start getting confirmations and signals from each one of them. Any questions?
استاد اوکی.
Excuse me.
جان.
الان با توجه به
Based on the factorization that we did,
باید برای اوردر رسیدیم به تایم فریم
we're
30 دقیقه درسته؟
on the 30-minute time frame right now.
میدونی
بر
چی
مبنای
من
چی؟
دو تا رو
I
گفتم، یکی تو
told you
تایم
two
بالا
things. One
گفتم
of
یکی
them
هم
was
در
in
نیم
your
ساعت
longer
رو
time
زدم،
frames,
نیم ساعت رو پاس
but one
اومدم
of them
نیم ساعت
was
با
in the
الان
30-minute
مارکت.
time frame, which was the market at the moment. Don't mix
حالا
them up
منظور من
together.
همین، مثلا
Yeah, that
اگه
is what I mean.
الان
For
بازم بخواد
example,
وارد بشه قاعدتا با تایم بالا نمیتونه اوردر بگیره، باید حتما رو تایم 30 دقیقه بگیره.
بله، نقطه ورود نیم ساعت و یک ساعت.
if we want
بله
to
و
take
زمانی
orders
میشه
now, we
گرفت که
can't do
مثلا
a
اختلال بود
long-term
مثلا
trade right now.
بله
We can just
بله.
do
پس
trades on
سوال بعدی
30-minute
استاد
or hourly
روی
time
فاز
frames.
داری
Yes,
که بحث
exactly.
فیبوناچی
Because
هستش
we're
و
at the end
بحث
of the day. So,
پیوتا.
in our
معمولا
factorization, we have two
فیبوناچی
things. One
برای
of them
پیدا
is the
کردن
pivots
پیوتا
and
استفاده میشه.
candlesticks, and
الان
Fibonacci. So
تداخل
usually the
ندارن چون
Fibonacci is
هم
used
الان ما
to
پیوت
locate the
پیدا میکنیم
pivots.
هم با فیبوناچی
Aren't
دوباره
they
اوردر
the
پیدا
same
میکنیم.
thing?
پیوت
یعنی
هم
حالا
ببین فیبوناچی دقیقا
No, you
همون حرفایی
see,
که داری پیوت هم
yes,
پیدا میکنه.
Fibonacci is a
وقتی
tool that
ورود
helps you
میکنی
locate
مثلا
the
الان
pivots.
این
For
یه پیوت
example,
این
this is
پیوت.
our pivot, right?
خب
بله.
فیبوناچی
Let's
جان
draw the
کجا دو تا
Fibonacci.
دو تا
I have
فیبوناچی
two
داری. خب
Fibonacci's
نه
here.
منظور من
No, that
همینه
is
که
exactly what
مثلا
I
یه
mean.
فاکتور
So
تکراری نمیشه
these two
فرض کرد.
factors are the same,
نه
right?
اینطوری فرض میشه کرد.
They
خب
are
ما
the
چرا
same.
میگیم
You see, for
فیبوناچی رو
example, the
چنج
reason why I
دادیم به خاطر
tell
اینکه
you to
چشمت یه
always
خطا
draw the
ببینه،
Fibonacci is
نتونی
that
ببینی
maybe
یه
you make
فیبوناچی
errors
وقتی
and don't
میزنی
see a
وقتی
particular
میزنی
pivot.
میتونی
When you draw the
ببینی. به
Fibonacci, it
یادآوری
reminds you and
میشه
locates the
گفت
pivots
استاد
for you.
مثلا
Can we
پیوتای
say that
قوی‌تر رو فیبوناچی
the
نشون
Fibonacci
میده مثلا
shows
پیوت
us the
زیادی
more
دقیقا
powerful
بله
pivots?
درسته.
Yes, exactly.
اونا رو نشون
Because we
میده
have a
شاید
lot of
درست
pivots.
باشه.
So the Fibonacci
بله
shows
درسته.
us the pivots that are
درسته.
more powerful.
آره.
Thank you.
الان شما بیاین
You see, for
فیبوناچی
example,
بگیرید
if you draw this
بزنید، این دو تا
Fibonacci,
فیبوناچی داره.
this chart
فیبوناچی
has two
استیمال
Fibonaccis.
داره.
It has
این میشه
one
اینجا.
midterm
پیوت
Fibonacci.
اصلی همسال با این
The
کله. این کل
38
کلش چون
level
نزدیک هست
is
براتون
equivalent
تعیین
to this
کنم.
swing high.
یکم کل داره
And
میشه
we
کم.
have an overall Fibonacci, which was this.
میشه این. ولی ما
So
معمولا حالا من
usually,
خودم باشم اول اینو
if I were you,
میدرم.
I would
زمانی
draw
که
this
مثلا
first,
یه
and
وقتی داره شکل ایجاد میشه ببینم که شادوی
when
چیزی
I see
ایجاد
that the
کرده
price has
میفهمم
gone
که
further
میام
than a
فیبوناچیشو
shadow or
بگیرم
something,
انجام
and
بدم.
after
ولی
that
بعد
I draw
اینکه
the
این
overall
اتفاق
Fibonacci. Because if
اشتباه
this is
بکنه
performed,
دقیقاً این
let
خطا
me
کنه.
delete this.
دقیقاً کندلی که
The
ایجاد چون شادوی
candlestick that are
عبور
formed are
میکنه
the
حتی
shadows
مثلا
are going to go
بین
further than
11
this.
کمی بالاتر از 38 قبول
They're going
بشه
to be
چون همون
completed above the
ناهماهنگی
38
ایجاد
level,
میشه.
or
وقتی
it's going
ناهماهنگی
to
ایجاد
be
میشه من میفهمم که این میخواد
a
فیبوناچی
bad
کلی
market.
رو
So when that
انجام بده. دقیقاً
happens, I know
این
that the
داره
overall
خود
Fibonacci is
اعداد
going to be
فیبوناچی رو
performed. When I do
برمیداره.
that, the price
این فقط برای
exactly
همون
retraces on
یادآوری
the
کرد.
Fibonacci level. So it's just a
اینا خود
reminder.
شما همون تکراریه میتونین
You
هر خورده
can't
ببینید من میگم بزنید
even
چون خطای
ignore
چشمی
that
چشم
and not
گرفتید
draw
فقط.
it, but um, I advise you to
الان مثلا
draw the
ببینید این قیمتی که
Fibonacci
شما اینجا افزایش دارید
so that it
قیمتی که
locates
دوستش
the
چیه
pivots for you. For
دیگه.
example, in
بالا
here,
سر این پیوت
this
خودتون
is our
البته پیوت
23
ها
level, and I told you
کنترل
that the
کمی داره.
Fibonacci has a little bit of
بعد
errors.
اینجا ما تو این
So in
پیوت
here,
داریم
this is
دیگه
the
این
pivot that we
پیوت معمولا
located,
این
and
روزی
it's
که
equivalent to the
اینجا رو
open
رد
close
کرد شما
pivot
برو
there.
به
If
پیوت
the price goes
بعدی.
further than that,
این
you have to
پیوتی که جلو
consider the
بوده
next
کرد.
pivot. So this is a
بعدش میشه دوباره
partial
این.
pivot there, a minor one. The next pivot will be here.
ما الان مارکت رو
But we
بخوایم
want
بگیم وقتی
the
الان مارکت هستیم
market
که
at the
سیگنال
moment,
تغییر
and we
داشته
had
دیگه.
a reversal
اینجا رو که
signal,
باز کرد
and this
وقتی مارکت
area is
بالا سرش
open, and above that
دوباره
we have
میشه
pivots. But you have
هوادار
to pay
باشه که
attention.
ورود
If the
رفته
price
که
goes
ورود بالا
further than
بگیره.
this pivot, you can start buying
ولی
again for the
تکلیف
second time.
فاکتور نگه، چون اگه من بخوام تکلیف
But
فاکتور بگم بر اساس
don't
این
get
میگیم تغییر روند دیگه
the
بین آدرس
confirmation from
برسه
only
بالا
one of
نه
these
یا پایین
strategies.
میره
It
بالا.
may tell
میاد
one
یه
of
دفعه
the
دیدی
strategies might tell us
برگشت
that
بدون که
the price is
چیکار کنی
going to
پیوتو
go up.
نگرفتی دید یه دفعه
But
دید
if it
دوباره کشید.
retraces, you shouldn't be
خب
surprised
این
because you
همه
didn't have
فاکتورها
all of the
میکسن میذارن
confirmations. You have
آماده
to
میکنن.
take orders when all of the factors give you the same signal.
سوال
Next
بعدی.
question, please. Excuse me. How long is the Dow Jones chart is going to go up?
اول بذاریم چند نفر سوال پرسیدن. نیوزلند به
In our
دلار یه لحظه من این آمار رو
NZD-USD, let me
نمی‌شناسم.
answer this one first.
قبلا به دلار گفتم این
in our
برگشت
NZDUSD you have
برگشت
asked
به بالا
that
رو شما چجوری نیوز دلار میگرفتید.
how do we
ببینید الان همین در تایم
interpret
روزانه
the retracement,
این
the
یک کندل
upward
دیروز شما
retracement. For
چی کار
example,
میشه؟
in our daily time frame, let's see this
این هیچ
candlestick.
سیگنالی برای شما صادر
It,
نکرده
it's not giving us any
و
signals.
دیروز هم ما اعلام
And
کردیم که
yesterday we
خریدارمون
told you
گفتیم
that
دیگه محدوده قیمتی من اینجا
we
دارم با
have
اون یکی سیستم بوده این محدوده
an
قیمتی
area
وجود داره که
here.
اگر
So
اینجا
if the
عبور
price goes
بکنه شما
further than
خریدید
this
راه
area,
افزایشی
it's a
هست.
confirmation that you're going to have an
اینجا
upward
یک فیبریشی
movement. So
شما
in here
داشته
you
باشید تا
you
این
have to
پوینت
have a
فکر میکنم
decline
این
up
پیوت رو
until
معمولا
this
بهتون
pivot. I
گفتم
think I have
اون
told you
تحلیل
about this
شلوار
pivot
دقیق یادم نیستش اینجا
in last
برگشت
night when we were
اینجا برگشت
analyzing.
اینجا به سمت بالا
So
باشه جایی که پیوتش هست
after that we're
من
going
پوشال
to
نمیگم
have an upward
حالت
move and it's going
پوشال
to retrace, and we have also an
یه چیزی که
engulfment here.
روزانه باید
But you
تحلیل
have to get
داشته
the
باشیم این که
confirmation
اینجا
when the
قیمت
price
بعدی
is
که
here, when it
اومده
has gone further than this
این
area.
محدوده من اینجا
This
دیشب
is the
بود
area that matters to us.
کندل هفتگی هم که سیگنال
In our weekly
افزایشی
time frame, we have an
همچنان که با
ascending
خوددار
signal
هم
and it's
بوده
equivalent to the
باز هم از
swing
قاعده
highs.
حد ضرری هم که
So
بخوام
if you
شما
want to
ببازید
determine your stop loss, it would be here.
اینجا و
And
الان هم
right
که
now,
قیمت خودش هم با این پیوت مچ
because the
شد
price
میتونی
is
برگشتایی بهت بده
equivalent to this pivot, you're probably going to have
خب
retracements. In our
داو
Dow Jones, let's check that.
خب داو جونز رو چیز
What was
شما
the
کردی گفتی
question?
داو جونز تا کجا
You asked me
افزایش
how
کرده
long it's going to go up? Yes,
بله
that
استاد
was my
خیلی
question.
خب داو جونز
Okay,
تو
so
شما کندل
in this
گذشته که
chart,
افزایشی بوده یک کندل سیگنال خیلی
the
خوبی ازش
candlestick
صادر
from the
کردیم
past
راه افزایشش
has
دوباره
had
تکرار
given us a
کنیم
very good ascending signal. If you draw the Fibonacci,
اینجا
you have
پیوت
pivots
داریم
here,
که الان قیمت از
and the
پیوت بیس
price is
150 هم
between
میشه گفتیم
the
پیوته که پیوتش
38
چیه
and 50 levels, so it's inside the
فعلا
pivots.
اینجا اینو رد
So if
بکنه
it goes
بعدی
further
برگشت
than that,
بعدی
the next
شما
retracement will be here
حدود یک
and
کندل
also here.
و افزایش کلترش هم که
And
بخوایم بگیریم
a
بس صبر
more
کنیم صبر کنیم تا
overall
این رد کنه همین
upward movement, you have to
اینو
wait
رد
until the
بکنه
price goes
کندل بعدی
further than
شیفتش
this.
رو
If
به
that
سمت بالا میره
happens, the next
فعلا اینجا
candlestick is
نباید
going
بگیرید
to
اصلا
go
این
up.
هفته
So
فروش یا بای
and
نداره
here
کار
you're not
نمیکنه
allowed to take any orders. You have to stop
برای همین
trading
میبینیم اگه
and wait to
پیوت
see if
میشه
this
پیوتش
pivot is
خیلی
going to
خوبه
be broken or
بیس
not. You
زیرش
see, it's
50 میشه
I
گفتیم
I
پیوت
told you that we
پیوته
always have pivots
اینجا
between
برگشت
38 and 50 levels. So it's going to have
الان
retracement
قیمت
here.
اینجا مگه که از اینجا
So if the
عبور
price
بکنه
goes
بعد
further
وارد
than that, I
فاز
can
دوم
start
بشه
buying again.
ولی از اینجا راحت میتونه تیپ
But you
پای
could have
خودش
started
رد
buying
کنه
from here.
سیگنال خیلی خوبی هم
You
صادر
had a
کرد
very good
اگر
signal too.
الان مارکت هم بشینم
If
پشت
I'm
مارکت
online
الان
in the
مارکت
market
هم
right
تصمیم
now, and
بخوام
if I want to
بگیرم
take any
نه خب
decisions
قیمت گفتی
based on
پیوته من نباید
right
دستم بنده
now,
نشون بدم
the price is on the
نیازم به
pivots. You
اینجا
have an open close
کندلی هم
pivot
داریم
there.
این که رد کرد یعنی تا اینجا که
So if
آمد
the price comes
مهدی کاماز
up
وارد بای
until
میشه
here, you can
حالا
start
مهدی
buying.
قیمت زیر این
But the
گیره
price is stuck
این
between
پیوته
this
خیلی
pivots
پایا
here.
توجه داشته باش پایا
But
جابجا شدن
please keep that in
خط
mind. The
قرمز
swing lows
خراب
have been
شده
moved. The trend line has been changed.
فیبوناچی تکش شده کشش به
Based
بالا
on the
کشش
Fibonacci, we have
مارکت
an
شما رو به
upward
بالا
elasticity. So the overall
این کششی که
elasticity is
دارید روند
upward
دارید
based
رو
on
به
these
بالا
strategies. So
پس
you
میری
know that it's
روند
going to go
ثابت
up.
حتی این خط تر هم
Even
بزنید
if you
کابل دیگه به
draw
سمت
this
بالا
trend line here, it shows you that you
اینجا
have
داره
an
میزنه
upward
ولی منظورم
movement,
اینه که
but it's going to
بذاری از
reach this
شکست
area,
ژئومتریک
but you have to
چیزا بعد
wait
وارد
until
بشید
it
نه
goes
استوب
further
بایی
than this
بزنید
area and then
حالا شانس
decline and go up
بگیره که
again.
این یه دفعه
Don't
همینو
start buying
بشکنه به
here.
سمت بالا بره ولی اینا توجه داشت که اینجا بای بزنه این
If you
برگشتش
start
بزنه
buying
از
here
اینجا
and then
بخوام بره
it
کابل هم یه
declines and then
مقدار
goes up,
چیز طاقت منفی رو
you're
داشته
going
باشه
to lose a bit of money. So you have to expect the loss.
اینجا نباید
So you
عمل
shouldn't do
کنید اینجا
anything
صبر
when the
کنید چه
price is
اتفاقی بیفته
here.
یا خالی کرد
You have
اومد تو
to wait for
جریان
it
شما
to
وارد بای
either
شو یا
decline
اینجا رو رد کرد وارد بای شو
and start buying when it reaches that
اگر
area,
همینجا
or you
وارد
have to
بای
wait for it
شده
to go
طاقت
up
منفی رو
and then
داشته باش آخرش
start
هم تو رو
buying.
میسوزه بی بستگی به تایم اوردری
But
که
if you
شما
start
دارید که
trading
ساعت
right
انتظار
now, it may decline and you may lose money and then go up. So expect that. But it depends on what time
خب
frame
الان همین
you're
طلا رو
trading on.
دیشب
For
ما گفتیم
example, last
اینجا
night
پای
I
خوش
told you
بزنید
to
باز کرد
put a
میره به
buy
سمت
stop
بالا
there.
ولی
And you
اینم
see it was
چی
performed.
خط قرمزش هم بزن
And if we draw the trend
این
line,
خط قرمز میشه حالت پول
it
بک
is a it is
یک
showing us
کسی
a
که اینجا
pullback. And you have another one here.
ببینید که من میارم
It
پایین
is
ببینید
declining.
بذارید
Let me fix this.
اینجا
Right here.
حالا اگه درست پیک زده باشم آره.
Yes, it is accurate.
این پایه رو به پایه اینجا رد زدم.
I have connected these swing
اینجا
highs.
مثلا
So
برای طلا میتونی وارد مثلا خرید بشی.
in this,
خرید
in
بشی
your gold
هفته
chart, you can
بعدش
start
نگاه میکنم
buying, and you can
اینجا
put your stop loss here.
مرکزش
This is
اینجا.
your central one.
بای اینجا میشه
And
داشت.
you can buy up
محدوده
until
میشه.
here
پیوتی
because you have
اینجا
a
بگیریمش
pivot. If we can locate it, in,
تقریبا میشه
yeah,
اینجا
we
ها.
have pivots here.
ریزش شاید بعد اکثر تا اینجا
So it's going to
ببین
decline up
این
until here,
محدوده
but
برای معاملات
this area is
بلند
good
مدت خرید.
for midterm or long-term buy trades.
قائم روزانه‌ش هم که
If you
چک
check
بکنی
the
اینجا یه
daily
پایه
time
هاست
frame, you
رو
see that the
اینجا
swing lows have been moved.
4 ساعت
And if
هم
you check
چک
the 4-hour
بکنی
time frame,
براتون
also
قائمش کنید
the swing
اینجا
lows are also moved. But in
گاهی یکم
here,
از این کوتاه‌تر
the
تموم
swing
شد
low
گاهی
has
این پایه هم
been
از این کوتاه‌تر تموم شد شما دیگه باید
completed
بدونید که
lower
اینجا
than
یه
this one,
ریزشی دارید
so
افق هم
you'll know that you're
بازیایی
going to have a
دارید
decline here. I
وقتی
told
این
you about the
محدوده
engulfments
باز
in
بشه
this
در
area. So
واقع
if this
بگید میخوام
area is
باید
opened, you can start buying. You can put a buy stop there.
یعنی دیواره خط قرمز باید داشته باشه کمتر از اونجا محدوده
So
میگه
it's going,
محدوده
I think it's
ضعیفی
a
داره
good area to start buying.
الان پوند به
Right
دلار
now, the
اینا ببینید
pound dollar chart, as you can
پیوتی
see,
رو یا کنه بازم بین 38 و
it's
23 که پیوت اینجا
between the 38 and 23 level, and we have
ببینید
pivots
دارم
here.
توضیحشو بندازم یه اوپن کلوز داشتیم رفت زد
You've had
شکستش
an open
پیوتی
close pivot.
بعدیش
It went further than that. The next pivot
اینجا
will be here,
دیدین چقدر
below this shadow here.
گفتن یه پیوت جزئی اینجا
And we have
داریم
a minor pivot there
وقتی
too.
اینجا رو
If the
عبور
price goes
کرد
further than this
بری بالا
area, you can
خرید
start
دوباره
buying up until here.
شما الان میتونسته بگید که اینجا میتونسته یه
You could
بایی
have
بگیری حالا
bought
یا از اینجا تا
in this
اینجا و
area
از
too,
اینجا تو خروج از اینجا خرید تا این
up
دیواره که
until
یکی دو پیپ همیشه میگن دو
this
طرف
wall
خارج
here, but you
میشه
should have
شما شما
exited
قیمتی
before it
داشته
reached
باشید
the pivots.
الان مثلا تو پایین تر
If we
چکش
check the
کنید
shorter time frames, you
میبینید
see
یه
that
تغییر سیگنال
this
نزول اتفاق
candlestick is
افتاد
giving us a
این ریزش
descending signal.
قیمت بر اساس این
So the decline was happened because of these pivots.
اینجا شما ریزش قیمت داشته بعدیش
And
هم
after that, you have a pivot here.
کشش
The
مارکت میکنم
elasticity,
که در آوردیم بر اساس پایه و مقاومت های فیبوناچی و کندلستیک اینا در آوردیم کشش
based on
مارکت ما
all of the
پایینه
strategies, is
میشه
downward.
اینجا دیگه
But
محدوده های آخر اینجا
you
باید
have to
صبر
wait
کنید
here.
در این ساعت دیگه نیستش که شما بخواید
This is not a
حالت
good
اوردر های
time to start
کوتاه مدت بگیرید برای
short-term
بالا
trades
اینجا شما اسکالپتون مثلا
and
تریل
up.
تایم
You see, for
تریل
example, in
تایم
this
ما قیمت
time of the
تایم
day,
ها
you can do a scalp. You
گفتیم
have to
گروه
work on
دقیق سکانس
shorter
ما
time
الان
frames to
روز
find the
پایان
exact
روزه
entry
چهار
points. This is
ساعته هم
the end
که
of the
6
day,
ساعته در
and
واقع
your
3 ساعت ازش
4-hour time
گذشته
frames that you have only 1 hour
پس
left
میشه
for
چی
the
تایم یک
candlestick to
ساعت
be
یک ساعتش
completed.
هم که 52 دقیقه پایان
And
ساعت
your
پس صبر کنید 7 دقیقه صبر
you
کنید
have
ببینید
to
کندلستیک
wait
چی تموم میشه
about 8 minutes
نیم
for your
ساعت هم که
hourly
بنده
candlestick to
فرق
be
نمیکنه
completed. You have to
دو
wait to see what
ساعته
happens.
بعد ازش گذشته
You have 5 minutes
اینو
left
بنده رو
until
فعلا همون
your
زدید روش الان پوینت
15-minute
بذارید
candlestick is completed.
و بعدی اینجا
You have one pivot here and another one here.
خب متوجه
Is that
شدین
clear?
این اگه اینجا ببینید یه شوک برگشتی
So
از
if you
وقتتون داد به
see
خاطر
a
اینه
shock here and a retracement, it's because of this.
تو گوشم هست بذار حتما تو بخوای نیست بخوام آره انتقال بده به صفحه خب متوجه
Is that
شدین
clear?
به پیوتاتون خیلی دقت کنید.
Pay a lot of
چون
attention
مثلا
to the
کندلی که
pivots.
سیگنال نزول رو بهتون
When a
میده میدونید
candlestick
کندل
is
بعدی تا کجا
descending,
میره، کندل بعدی چه اتفاقی میفته، میریزه یا میره بالا. آیا ریزشش تا کجاست؟
um,
ریزش اولش پیوتش
you'll know
اینجاست.
that if what
بعد
the
از
next
پیوت
candlestick is
فاصله
going
پیوت
to
با
do.
پیوت بعدیتون اینجا.
Based on the pivots, you know
فیبوناچی
how
وقتی
long it's
رد
going to go
بکنید
up and down. And if you draw the Fibonacci,
پیوت 61.
this is our 61 level.
جلسه بعدیتون کلاسیک
Our
ساعت
next session will start
به ساعت ما میشه ساعت 9
at 9 o'clock,
9 شب
9 p.m.
روانشناسی که همه
We're
اون
going to
ساعت
talk
خوبه
about the
باشید 2 ساعت
psychological
سر باشید.
points.
روانشناسی هستش و
It's about the
یه تست هم
psychological
داریم.
points, and we're going to
شما
take a
شما هستید
test
که
as well.
مقدار سوالات رو ازتون
I'm
میپرسیم.
going to ask you questions.
خیلی خب
But
الان
right now,
الان ببینید یه تایمی
you
تموم
see,
شده.
I think one of the candlestick is
تایمی تموم
completed.
شده.
No, it's not.
الان مثلا کندل
So,
روز شما وقتی
the daily
این جلسه
candlestick,
5 دقیقه
excuse
شما
me, the
وقتی
five-minute
میشینید شب روز
candlestick, when it's
صبح
completed like
شما میدونید که
this,
به پیوت اینجا
you know
خورده.
that it has
اینجا
reached the
بالای
pivot.
پایین که قرار بگیری یا بالای مثلا این
And
کندل رد بکن ثابت بشه
if
میدونی یه افزایش
this
قیمت بهتون تو
candlestick
روز
is
بعدی تو
open,
روز
you know
بعدی
that
چیه؟
it's going to
گودی داره.
continue its movement up until the next pivot, which is the swing low pivot
بزنید
here.
ابزار تو فیبوناچی هاتون اینا رو همه مثلا بزنید. الان این
So you have
5
to use
دقیقه
all
شما
of your
تموم شده.
strategies. You
خب
see, the
من
5-minute
اینجا صبر
candlestick is
میکنم ببینم
completed. I have
سوالم
to
بالا اینو
wait to
باز میخواد
see
تایید بده. من
it
صحبت
gives
یه
me the
سوالی میپرسم
confirmation
این
or
بالا
not.
هم
It
باز باشه من
has
میتونم بگم که چی اگه
touched
هوای
the
قیمت قرار بالا بگیره.
pivot
اگه
below, so
پیوت
if it
منفی
opens the
منفی
price from the
یعنی
top,
چی
that is a
اینجا
confirmation for me. But I
منفیه.
have to wait
الان
here
میخوام دقیقا ببینم چه
to see
اتفاقی
what's
میخواد بهش
going to
بیفته.
happen.
آیا میخوای اینو فیل کنه بره
Is it
توی
going to
پیوت
fade
اینجا
this
رو
out
بزنه
and reach
یا
this
میخوای اینو
pivot, or is it
تاییدش
going
کنه
to
پیوت
confirm
بالایی رو
this
بزنه.
and reach the pivot above?
این یه سری از مواردهای
These are
موضوع کلاس سری رفع اشکالایی که بچه‌ها
uh,
سوال داشتن مثل فاکتور ریزی
this
و
session we talked
سری
about
مواردهایی که
some of
توی
your
کورس
problems
گذاشتیم.
and questions. We reviewed them.
پس توجه داشته
So
باشین
pay
این نمونه‌ها
attention to
رو
these
زود عمل
examples.
نکنید. صبر
Don't
کنید ببینید
rush
پیوت
into
پایینی باز کرد
trading.
با باز که میتونه با این فروش بشین تا دیواره
You
این
have to
پایین
wait.
و اگر اینجا رو باز کرد
If
میتونه
it
برای
opens
بگذار
this,
تا خردی بالا.
if the price opens this area, you can
اینا رو صبر کن اوردر رو با اطمینان بالا. روی
consider the
تکنیک ها هم
pivots.
استفاده کنید. برای اینکه تکنیکتون 6 تا هست
You have 6
و شما سرعت
strategies
آنالیزتون
and you're
پایینه
not
سعی کنید
fast
تایم‌های بالا
analyzers,
کار کنید. الان
so
من
try to
تایم
work on
تعمیل رو
longer
عوض
time
میکنم
frames. So I'm going to
پای
change the
اصلی
time of
رو
the
میذارم
class,
براتون که
and
بتونید
we're going to
راحت‌تر
talk
ترید کنید.
about, we're going to analyze the markets on
بعد من کندلم
evenings
تموم
so
شد بهش
that
گفتم سیگنال بده.
you'll get the better signal. So this candlestick is completed, so I can understand the signal from that.
استاد
Excuse
گفتید یه
me,
سوالی
I
داشتم.
have a question.
فرمایش شما
When
گفتید
you
که
said
از نظر زمانی حواسمون
we
باشه
have
که تو
to
تایم فریم مثلا 4 ساعته کندل تشکیل میشه ببینیم که به چه
we
شکلی
have to
هست ما
keep
حدودا
an eye on
چقدر
the
باید
market watch,
صبر
how
کنیم که
long
بتونیم
should we
یه
wait
به قول معروف یه جواب
until we
قابل
get
تصمیم بگیریم
a
از یه
reliable
کندلی که
signal
بعد
from
چهار
that
ساعته که
candlestick?
تشکیل
For
میشه ما
example,
حدودا
when
چقدر
a
بعدش
4-hour
میتونیم
candlestick is
موضوع اون
completed,
سیگنالی که اون داره میده که واسه ما
when can we
سیگنال
decide based on the
قابل
signal
اتباعی
that
هست یا
it's
نه
giving
تصمیم گیری
us?
کنیم.
تا زمانی که کندل
Until the
حالت قیمت کندل کناریش رو باز کن تایید
you
بده.
get the confirmation from the next
ببینید
candlestick.
تایید
You
بده
see,
مثلا
for
الان همین 5
example,
دقیقه
in our
خب
5-minute time
شما باید
frame,
صبر
you have to
کنید این الان مثلا یه
wait.
سیگنال
For example, this
افزایش
is
داده
giving you an
بهتون
ascending
پیوت
signal.
پایینم خورده ولی گفتم صبر کنید ببینید
I
دیواره
told
بالا
you
رو
you
باز
have to wait
میکنه
to
که
see if
تایید
the
بده.
top wall is
اگه باز
going to be
نکنه دیواره
opened or
پایینی
not
باز
to give
دوباره
you a
تا پیوت بعدیش
confirmation.
ریزش
If
داره.
it opens the
شما
bottom
اینجا
wall,
توی این تایم
it's
فریم
going
که
to
پیوت
decline.
بعدیش
So in here you
ببینید چه
have to wait
اتفاقی
to
افتاد.
see
اگه
what's
بالا
going
رو
to
باز
happen.
بکنه
If it's
میبینید
open from the
چجوریه که
bottom,
دیوار
you
پایینی
have to
داره دیگه
start
پیوت پایینیش
selling. You have
داره دیگه.
pivots
اگه بالایی رو
below.
باز
But if
بکنه
it opens
بعدی
the
نسبت
price
به
from the
افزایش
top,
داره
that
توی
is a
دیواره.
confirmation for an upward movement and it's going
انتظار حالا
to
این
go
فاصله
up.
میتونه همون لحظه
So
ایجاد بشه میتونه
that
یک ساعت دو
distance
ساعت طول
could
بکشه.
start forming at that
بستگی
exact
داره به
moment, or
سرعت
it's going to
مارکت.
take 1 or 2 hours. It depends on the
الان مثلا تو
market.
تایم 4
For example, in the
ساعته
4-hour
4
time
ساعت
frame,
شرقی شما سیگنال نزول داده
we
دیگه
have
تازه.
a
پس
descending
شما
signal.
صبر
So you have to
میکنید
wait
دیواره پایینش که قیمت پایینش که باز
when
کرد تایید
the
شده وارد
price
فروش بشه.
opens the bottom area. That is a confirmation for you that you're going to have the decline.
وارد فروش
And you
بشه.
can start selling.
استادی احتمال وجود نداره که دوباره یه برگشت بزنه
So
بالا.
isn't there a possibility of
باید پیوتش
retracement?
چیز باشه، پایین‌تر باشه. این الان پیوتش فیکس
You
دقیقاً
see,
پایین بود.
the pivot
خب
is
وقتی باز می‌کنه این
at the
رفت کنار
bottom.
پیوت.
When it
بعد
opens the
احتمال
price from the
برگشت
bottom,
رو
it has gone
خیلی
further than the
خیلی
pivot.
خیلی کم
So there's a
اندازه کم.
very, very low possibility of a retracement.
ولی که شما
But
پیوت میافته کجا؟ اینجا میافته.
if your pivot is here,
کمی
a
پایین‌تر.
little bit below your candlestick,
وقتی میای اینجا باز می‌کنه وارد خروج میشه، یکم یه پایین برمیگرده. چون که
there is a
پیوتش پایین‌تره.
possibility of retracement because the pivot
شما
was
پیوتش رو در
below your
بیاری.
candlestick. You have
الان
to locate
همینجا
your
هم من
pivots. For
نگاه
example,
پیوت
in
کردم
here,
دیگه.
I considered and located my pivots.
روی اون فون بود.
I think it was on the pound chart.
اینجا.
Yes, here.
من نگاه به همین پیوتش کردم.
I
ببین
located the pivots.
یک پیوت اینجا
You have one
داری.
pivot here,
یه پیوت اینجا
a
داری.
pivot here,
یه پیوت هم
and another one here,
اینجا. خب من
right?
خودم گفتم صبر کنیم یه
So you
پیوت
have
پایین رو باز
to
می‌کنیم
wait to
پیوت
see
بالا.
which
اگه بالا
pivot
رو
it
باز کنیم
opens.
تایید
If it
کردن
opens the bottom
کندل.
pivot,
اگه پیوت پایین رو
that
باز
is
کنیم
a
ریجکت کردن کندل. پس
rejection of the
ریجکت کانسل کنیم.
candlestick, so it's going to
اگه که بالا
decline.
رو
If it
باز بکنیم
opens the
تایید کردن کندل،
top
پس تایید
pivot,
افزایش
it
قیمت.
is a confirmation of an upward movement.
توی فاصله
So
کمی نیست. این دیگه
this is not a lot
سریع
of
همین که میگیم
distance.
صبور
You have
باشیم
to
توی
be
مارکت.
patient.
صبر داشته
If you're
باشیم.
patient
عجله
and you
وارد
don't rush
بشیم
into
خطا
anything,
می‌دیم.
you're not going to make any mistakes.
استاد یه سری جاها هست
Um,
که
you
یه
see,
لحظه
for
الان
example,
ببین
in
این کندل
here,
خود سیگنال
this
نگوشیه.
candlestick is
خب
giving us a
و
descending
هم
signal,
سیگنال
and
هم
it's a
گشاده.
bearish candlestick, and it's an
خب
engulfing
پس من اینجا
signal.
باید چکار
So what
کنم؟
should I
من
do
اینجا
here? I
صبر
have
کن.
to wait
ببینم شاید
to
اینجا
see
باز
which, if
میکنه.
it's going to go
اگه که
further than
باز
this
کرد
shadow.
میارم
If that
بالا
happens, I can
خروجم.
start selling.
هم پوشین گفتیم پایین تا کرد این یکم رد
When
کنه.
it goes a little
میشه
bit further
ادامه
than that,
روند ریزش
which is
قیمت یا
which will be the
پیوتم. اینی که
continuation of my
باز نکرد
decline.
میشه هم
If it
پوشانی.
didn't open it, that
خب
will be an
حالا این
engulfment.
کندل گفتیم
So
این کندل بخشی توی شکمای
when
کندل
this
میشه
candlestick
تموم
is
میشه
completed
و توی
inside
پیوت هم
its
تموم
previous
میشه. این
candlestick, and
کندل
when it's
50-50
completed
دیگه.
inside the pivot,
درسته؟
that is a 50-50
50
candlestick, right?
کندل 50-50 اسمش مشخصه. داری ریسک میکنی. 50%
And
احتمال بره بالا،
it's
50%
obvious that
احتمال
it's a
بریزه
risky
پایین.
candlestick. There's a 50% possibility that
فضای
it's going to go
این
up and
ما
a
رو
50%
نمیخواد.
possibility that it's
چرا
going to
ما رو
go down.
میگه
So we
قیمتش از
don't
پایین میخواد
do anything
میشه
based on
ادامه
this
دهنده یعنی تایید بشه.
until we get the confirmation.
بفرمایید.
Please ask your
یعنی
question.
به صورت خلاصه استاد با این
So if
نگاه
we
کنیم
sum it up,
بالاترین
we
قیمت
have to
یا
see
پایین ترین قیمت اون کندل باز
if
بشه
the
که به اون پیوت
high
رسیدیم.
or low
تایید
of the
بگیرم.
candlestick is
ولی
broken,
مثلا
so we
یه
get the
جایی هستش
confirmation.
که
Yes,
تراکم بر
exactly.
پیوت ها خیلی
But
زیاده، یعنی ما
sometimes
احساس
there
میکنیم
are
که بخوایم
so many
پیوت رو
candlesticks
مثلا
in one
ساید میشه
area.
مارکت. ساید میشه ساید
That
بولش.
would be a
اونجا دیگه
sideways
نمیدونی
trend.
بهتره
So
فعلا
in
وارد
that
معامله نشیم.
area, we shouldn't start
نه
trading,
شما
right?
همین فعلا
Yes, you
پیوت رو
shouldn't.
توی تایم مثلا نیم ساعت یک
You
ساعت
see, for
فعلی پیوت رو
example, in
زیاد
our
میبینی
30
بدون
minute
که
or
فعلا
hourly
از
time frame,
روی
you
ریورس
see
ساپورت
many
یا چهارتای یک رو
candlesticks.
بگیر کرده تعداد پیوت زیاد.
That is because you have so many pivots in that
پس میشه
area and
چیز
the
ساید
price is
بودن
stuck
مارکت
between the
اون
pivots.
زمان
So that is a
وارد میشی.
sideways
وقتی
trend. You
وارد
shouldn't
میشی
start trading.
اسکلپ میکنی رو پیوت
If you
راحت میتونی
want to, you
اسکلپ
can do
کنی.
scalp tradings.
ممنون
Thank
استاد.
you.
چشم. خب سوال پرسم آقای ترکی
Mr.
استاد اگه
Turkey
میشه
has
شاگردای
asked,
اولتون که به درآمد خوب رسیدن بگیم بیان و اینجوری میگیم که توی آموزش رو کار
has
کردم یا فول تایم وقت گذاشتن شغل دیگه ای هم داشتن. ببینید اینا رو باید از خودشون اجازه بگم. مثلا الان
has
مهدی
asked
رو
me
من
to ask my
قیمت 3
students to talk
درصده
to you. You
باش
see, I
صحبت
have
کردم
to
یا
get their
اصلا خاصی هم
permission
قبول
first.
نکرد.
I talked to
اینا
some
باید
of
با
my
خودشون
students,
صحبت
but
بکنم
they didn't
بعد
accept
با
to
خودشون
come
بگم.
talk to
من با
you.
این مشکلی ندارم. این
I know
گفتم با
some of my
خودشون
friends are okay with that.
صحبت بکنم. یا مثلا شریعتی مشکلی نداره.
Um, for example, Mr.
مثلا
Shariati is
مثلا
okay with it. I can talk to
امیر
him.
مثلا مشکلی نداره.
There are some
اینا رو
people that
میگیم
I
مثلا
know
میگم
that don't
ولی
have any
با این
problems
که
with
همون
that,
بتونه هماهنگ بشن با شما
but we have to set a
نباید
time
خودشون اجازه
and we
بدن.
have to
دست
get the
من
permission
نیست.
from them. So you have to talk to
من
them.
بتونم
I
بگم
can't do
یعنی
anything
برنامه
about
بکنم
that.
میان دیگه. تایمش
But if
باشه
I
میشینن
tell them
میخونن
to
حتما.
talk to you and they're not
محتاطم کلاس باید
busy,
تموم
they will
بشه که
accept.
مهم بگم بیا. خب جلسه
So
آیندهتون
next
ما ساعت
session
9 شب به وقت
will
ما
be
میشه. میشه ساعت
about 10:30 p.m. I'm going to take a quiz to see what you've done and to understand exactly where you're wrong and what your mistakes and problems are. So when you're online on the chart, you're working on your own accounts, and I'm going to see what mistakes you usually make, what problems you have. You have to practice and you have to work on the market so I can see what your problems are. So next session, be ready for a quiz. Before the psychological points, we're going to take a quiz to see what your problems are. Excuse me. In our pound dollar, in our 4-hour time frame, we have a reversal candlestick. Which chart? In our pound dollar chart. In our 4-hour time frame. You mean this? Yes. It's definitely because of pivots. We've had a downtrend. In our weekly and daily time frames, we had a descending signal. You have pivots here. Yes, we have pivots. Oh, a swing low pivot. Right there. A swing low pivot. You've had pivots here. You have one pivot here, and they were powerful pivots too. When you check longer time frames, you see if it's the first collision, don't worry. You see, for example, in here, if it collides this first, this one here, and another one here. We have a swing low pivot there, and another one here. In their first collisions, you can start buying freely, but it should be short term. In its first collisions, you can do scalp tradings here, and you can buy, and then again here and again there. If it's first collision, you can do that. You see, for example, in here, in this time frame, this candlestick, this is giving us a descending signal. It's bearish. If the price comes here, you can start selling up until the pivots that you have located, up until here, for example. This candlestick is giving you a warning and a signal. You just have to wait for the confirmation. When you get the confirmation, you can start selling freely. And we're going to have a workshop soon. I'm going to tell you when exactly we're going to have the workshop so you can attend. And it's in the evening. Alright, so any more questions? Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone. Should I wait? Yes, you should wait.